Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Casper here. Today I want to show you an exciting opening that you have never seen before. Probably. You see, if you are an e4 player, you have no option but just to learn how to beat the Sicilian defense, arguably the strongest opening response to one e4. So what new stuff do I have for you today? Watch. After pawn to e4 and pawn to c5, the move I recommend is knight f3. Now you will see that pawn to d6 is the top played move in the Masters database. Of course, knight c6 is playable, knight f6 is also playable. I'll try my level best to cover the remaining lines, but let's begin with pawn to d6, the top played move, which is the modern variation that has potential to transpose to the knight of Sicilian. Against this, the move I recommend is to play pawn to d4, and after pawn takes, you go knight takes d4 as if you're playing normal chess. Then after knight f6, the top played move, attacking your e4 pawn, you defend it with your queen's knight, and then once again see what is happening in the Masters database. Pawn to a6 is by far the top played move. So once you see this move, just know you're now playing against the knight of variation, this position. This is what you always want to keep in mind. Now, the tricks that I'm about to show you guys also work very well in classical chess, and it will come as a surprise to most of your opponents. The line begins with a sacrificial move, pawn to g4, known as the Deca Gambit. And this kind of looks like the Caris Attack. For those who know, why sacrificing a pawn for nothing? Well, we just want to open up the G file where we are going to place our king's rook and start attacking along this highlighted file. The thing with the Sicilian defense is it's very rare that you're going to see your opponents castling long because they have already messed up their queen side. So 99% of the times, black players choose to castle short. And that's why we want to be very quick with our attack on the king side. If knight takes g4 is played, you simply go rook g1. You just want to take that piece. And this looks like you're going to lose the second pawn. That's fine. You can see the eval bar is still the same. So this is not a blunder, you guys. Very much playable even at the top level. After losing the second pawn, you just go bishop e2. And it turns out that this knight is almost trapped. You're just one move away from capturing it. So they'll play something like pawn to h5. Maybe with pawn to h5, black wants to rescue his knight somehow. But this is when you can just take pop. Again, you can see the eval bar hasn't changed. It is still the same. Pawn to g6 is what most people play by this time. And guess what? I want you guys to find the best continuation in this position, which maintains the advantage and has potential to lead to a quick checkmate. Let's go. Guys, when you hear my lovely subscribers saying Casper is full of novelties, this is what they mean. Rook takes g6. Another sacrifice, you guys. If black takes with the f pawn, now you go bishop takes g6. That's check. The only move is king d7. And then you go bishop f5. Check. Funny enough, if you're playing against a very high rated opponent or even a grandmaster, you can even make a quick draw right here. Yeah, like king e8, bishop g6, king d7, bishop f5 check, king e8, bishop g6 check. This should be draw. However, if black plays king d7, there is this mate in one. Pop, black's king is trapped. Anyway, so this is one of the coolest trap in the Deca Gambit that most of your opponents won't know, you guys. And remember, this happens in the pawn to d6 line, the modern variation, where you go pawn to d4 again, playing the normal Sicilian line. And then the moment you see the knight off on move number 5, that's when you gambit your pawn. So timing is also very important. And the whole idea is just to open up the king side, since we know that 99% of the times Sicilian players want to castle short. So with these kinds of moves like rook g1, we are stopping black from castling short or just messing up their Sicilian plan. Put this on Stockfish and you will be surprised that what I'm telling you guys is gospel truth. This is not a dubious gambit, and it's not an opening for the faint of hearts. After seeing the knight of variation, and then you go pawn to g4. What if black doesn't take with the knight? Say they take with the bishop. To be honest, the best you can do here is to resign. No. I'm just joking. So there are so many things that you can do. Queen d3 is also playable in this position. But the move I like to keep everything simple is bishop e2. Yes, you want to oversimplify the position, develop your dark squad bishop, and castle long. Remember, a typical Sicilian player wants to castle short someday, but they won't be able to easily do that because of this semi-open file which we created. The game may continue as follows: knight c6, the top played move in the Lichess database, and now you go bishop e3, so that if knight takes, you take back, right? Anyway, at this point, black is going to play something like pawn to g6 because they are trying to, avoid this attack. But yeah, you can just castle long. Again, you can see the evil bar is just at the same spot. It's not moving because Stockfish knows something about this gambit, you guys. Say bishop g7, because what else? Here you can even, simplify the game like this. You don't have to keep unnecessary tension on the center. And then the move here is pawn to e5. This is how you destroy the knight of Sicilian, you guys. If knight d5, for example, you take that knight. Oversimplification is the key in this opening. Say bishop takes e5. You see, here you just play rook hd1, giving up this pawn, because in the Deca Gambit, we don't care about our king side pawns. For example, if bishop takes, here you have pawn to f4, almost trapping this bishop once again. And if bishop g3, by the way, you can just go queen g4, and to hell with this bishop, black is dead. If black doesn't take, and say they play bishop g7, because, what else? If castle short, for example, you can just take this bishop and then take the queen. So they'll play something like bishop g7 here, after which you can shock your opponent with this next move. Or let me give you another chance to find the best move in this position. Once again, if you guys hear my lovely viewers saying Casper is full of surprises, they mean this. Yeah, if queen takes, you're just gonna take and then play bishop d4 discovery to win this bishop. If pawn takes, you have bishop g5 check, winning the queen. Anyway, maybe after rook takes d6, the best black can do here is to play queen a5, because queen c7 doesn't even count due to bishop b6. Who am I? There's no rook takes d6 due to rook takes d6. And if black plays this checkmate in 2, come on you guys, what are we talking about? The Deca Gambit is very awesome, you guys. So I propose that you do further research, because I'm going to end this video very soon. Anyway, enough of the modern variation of the Sicilian defense. Now, just like I said before, we see this same pawn to g4 move in the Caris Attack, which arises from the Scheveningen variation of the Sicilian defense after knight f6, knight c3, and pawn to e6. This is called the Scheveningen variation. The only difference is that this time there is no pawn to a6. If pawn to a6, that will be the knight off. But anyways, after pawn to e6, the top played move, as you can see in the master's database, is still pawn to g4. There's a reason. This time, black can't even take our pawn on g4 because we're just going to take. Again, the whole idea of the Caris Attack is to stop black from castling short in the long run. Or if they do that, we are going to attack them so badly. We just want to mess up the king side. So what this move pawn to e6 does is it kind of blocks the light squad bishop, and this permits us to play pawn to g4 right away. That's why you have seen that pawn to g4 is the top played move in the master's database, or at the top level, because the idea is still the same. We just want to mess up the king side before black wakes up. If pawn to h6, even though h4 is playable, just be aggressive, you guys. Go pawn to g5. This is what I like doing. If pawn takes, I go bishop takes. Now, mission 1 accomplished. Black has nowhere to castle. If knight c6, h4 is okay, even knight b3. But the move you want to play is queen d2, because you just want to castle long with tempo. Now the top played move here is queen b6. That's what black players play, attacking both your knight and this pawn, which you can defend both, by the way, with this move, castle long. But just to be very safe, play the move knight b3 so that you don't leave anything hanging on the center. Besides, if you just castle long, maybe you are inviting a queen trade. So knight b3 avoids a queen trade in the long run. So knight e5 is played in this position. Black wants to give a check and maybe win the queen or the bishop. After this, you can just go bishop e2. Whenever you see knight e5 in the Caris Attack, play bishop e2. stopping knight f3 check, pop. And then say black plays bishop d7 or bishop e7. This is when you can just castle long. Look how comfortable your position is. From here, you are ready to go pawn to f4 and start attacking right away. Besides, you have bishop b5 check coming. And then in the long run, you also have h4, h5, pop, I don't know. And I've seen some of my amateur opponents here taking this pawn, which seems to be free. Well, this is a blunder because there's bishop b5 check and the queen is dead. So this is one line that made me fall in love with the Caris attack, worth remembering. Now, the other way I force all my Sicilian opponents to face my Caris attack is by starting with bishop c4 first. For example, after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, pawn takes, knight takes, and knight f6. Here I play bishop c4 instead of defending my e4 pawn. Remember, knight c3 is the main line. But what am I doing with this move, bishop c4, this gambit, which is called the Ginsberg gambit? Well, firstly, if knight takes what appeared to be a free pawn, I can just go ahead and sacrifice my bishop on f7 with check, getting back my pawn. If king takes, I have queen h5 check, and after pawn to g6, this is how I get back my piece. Pop with a better position, I guess, because I have h4, h5 coming, mess up black's pawn structure on the king side, develop my pieces as highlighted, pop. So the other way to transpose the game to the Caris attack or to the Scheveningen lines is by starting with bishop c4, because at least you are guaranteed that pawn to e6 will be played instead of knight takes. After the main move, pawn to e6, this is when you can defend your e4 pawn like this. And after pawn to a6, I'm just playing the main lines. Whenever I see this move, I visualize pawn to b5 on the next move. So I just play bishop b3, just keeping everything simple. If pawn to b5 anyways, I play a3, ensuring that my queen side is safe. And once the dust settles, the moment you see that you don't have any weaknesses on the queen side or any serious attack, that's when you shift to the king side and play pawn to g4, the Caris attack move. You just want to go g5 and take. For example, after bishop b7, you need to be very careful here. If you play pawn to g5, for example, there are some tactics on e4 and you might end up losing your rook on h1 as well. So queen e2 is decent, I mean protecting your e4 pawn. You don't want to lose your central pawn in the Sicilian defense. If pawn to h6, that's when you go pawn to g5 if you want, or pawn to h4. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what most of my viewers love about this channel: piece sacrifices. Bishop takes e6 is a very brilliant sacrifice. If pawn takes, you take back with your knight. Whatever black does, you take on g7 with check, and then just a matter of time you retreat your knight. If d5, you just take on h6 with your bishop, ready to castle long, or just continue pressurizing your opponent. I mean, this is very, very awesome, you guys. So this is just how you force most of your opponents, or rather Sicilian opponents, to face the Caris attack with bishop c4. The only annoying thing about the Sicilian is there are so many lines that you need to study. But anyways, these are the main things, you guys. Once you just master these lines, the lines that I just showed you, you will be good to go. But anyways, if you find these things to be complicated, you guys, there's a very simple attack against the Sicilian defense which I presented in the video that has popped up in the card above, arising from the Vanjit opening. After pawn to c5, you don't have to play e4. If you play e4, then, well, let it be the Grand Prix attack which I covered in that video. Be sure to watch it. Otherwise, e4 is not really necessary. You can go knight e4 in this position. A surprise, black can't play pawn to d5 because they are going to lose a free pawn. If pawn to e6, you turn this into the Stonewall attack. Say after d5, you go knight f2. After knight c6, you go knight f3. If bishop d6, you go pawn to e3. Say after knight f6, you go pawn to d5. And after castle short, you go pawn to c3. Say b6, you go bishop d3. This is the Stonewall attack, you guys, if you think about it, but with an improved knight on f2. If you want to know more about this, again, watch the video in the card above. or I'll leave the link to that video in the comment section down below. Now, time for you to go and check out my new E5 defense course, which I have also linked in the comment section down below. And I'm glad to say, so far it has received a lot of attention and people are getting it like crazy. So it's an opening response that you try against White's E4 opening. You're going to learn how to play against the Scotch, the Ruy Lopez, the Bishop's opening, 3 Knights opening, the 4 Knights game, the Vienna game, even the Italian game. So it's the complete E5 defense course that I just launched with my team. You better go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.